Ever heard of a president who served not one, not two, not even three, but 4 terms in office? That's right. We're talking about the one and only Franklin Delano Roosevelt, or as many affectionately called him, FDR. Born in 1882, he became the 32nd President of the United States, steering the nation through some of its most turbulent times from 1933 until his passing in 1945. Imagine taking the helm of a country grappling with the Great Depression and then, on top of that, a massive world war. That was FDR's reality. So, how did one man manage to lead through such chaos and get elected 4 times? Let's dive into the story of the leader who reshaped America. Roosevelt came from a prominent, wealthy family in New York. He attended Harvard and Columbia Law School, and you could say politics was in his blood. He was a distant cousin of another famous president, Theodore Roosevelt. He started his political career as a New York State senator, then served as Assistant Secretary of the Navy, and later as Governor of New York. But his path to the presidency wasn't without its personal battles. In 1921, at the age of 39, Roosevelt contracted polio. The illness left him paralyzed from the waist down for the rest of his life. For a public figure, this could have been a career-ending catastrophe. But FDR was a fighter. He worked tirelessly to regain some muscle function, and with the help of braces and a cane, he taught himself to stand and walk short distances. He was determined not to let his physical condition define him or his political ambitions. In public, he went to great lengths to project an image of strength, often using a car or podium to support himself, so many Americans were actually unaware of the extent of his paralysis. When he ran for president in 1932, America was in the depths of the Great Depression. 1/4 of the workforce was unemployed, banks were failing, and people were losing their homes. The country was desperate for hope, and FDR's optimistic and confident demeanor was just what it needed. He promised a new deal for the American people, and they believed him, electing him in a landslide. From the moment he took office, Roosevelt hit the ground running. In his first 100 days, he passed a flurry of legislation aimed at tackling the economic crisis. This was the birth of the New Deal. Think of it as a massive, multi-pronged attack on the Depression. He declared a bank holiday to stop the runs on banks, and then passed laws to stabilize the financial system. One of his most genius moves was his use of the radio. Through his Fireside Chats, he spoke directly to the American people, explaining his policies in a simple, reassuring way. It felt like the president was right there in their living rooms. This built a powerful bond of trust between him and the public. He wasn't just a distant figure in Washington. He was a leader who cared. The New Deal was all about 3 Rs: relief, recovery, and reform. Relief for the unemployed and poor came through programs like the Civilian Conservation Corps, which put young men to work on environmental projects. Recovery of the economy was pushed through initiatives to boost agriculture and industry. But perhaps the most lasting part of the New Deal was the reform. FDR's administration created programs that are still pillars of American society today. Ever heard of Social Security? That was a New Deal creation, providing a safety net for retirees and the unemployed. The Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, was established to regulate the stock market and prevent another catastrophic crash. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC, was set up to insure bank deposits, so people wouldn't lose their life savings if a bank failed. The Wagner Act strengthened the rights of workers to form unions and bargain collectively. These programs fundamentally changed the role of the government in American life. Before FDR, the government had a much more hands-off approach. The New Deal established the idea that the federal government had a responsibility to ensure the economic well-being of its citizens. This shift created a powerful political alliance known as the New Deal Coalition. It brought together diverse groups: labor unions, city dwellers, various ethnic groups, African Americans, and white Southerners, all united under the banner of the Democratic Party. This coalition would dominate American politics for decades. Of course, not everyone was a fan. Critics argued that the New Deal gave the government too much power and was a step towards socialism. They felt it was interfering too much with the free market. The Supreme Court even struck down some of his early programs, but FDR's popularity with the people was undeniable. He won re-election in 1936, 1940, and 1944. Just as the nation was beginning to emerge from the Depression, a new shadow fell across the globe: World War II. Initially, America was officially neutral, but Roosevelt saw the growing threat from Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. He skillfully navigated public opinion, which was largely isolationist, to provide crucial aid to allied nations like Great Britain through programs like the Lend-Lease Act. He famously declared that America must be the arsenal of democracy. Then came December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The attack on Pearl Harbor thrust the United States into the war. FDR's leadership was now tested on a global scale. He became a central figure among the Allied leaders, working closely with Winston Churchill of Britain and Joseph Stalin of the Soviet Union to coordinate the war effort. His calm and steady hand guided the nation through the immense challenges of mobilizing for a total war. However, FDR's presidency isn't without its dark spots. One of the most significant and damaging decisions of his tenure was Executive Order 9066. In the wake of the Pearl Harbor attack, fueled by fear and prejudice, this order authorized the internment of Japanese Americans. Over 120,000 people, most of whom were American citizens, were forced from their homes and businesses and relocated to internment camps. They lost their property, their freedom, and their dignity. This action is now widely condemned as a grave injustice and a stark reminder of how fear can lead to the violation of civil liberties. It's a critical and somber part of his legacy that must be acknowledged. By his fourth term, the tide of the war was turning in the Allies' favor, but years of stress and his ongoing health issues were taking a toll. On April 12, 1945, just a few months before the war's end, Franklin D. Roosevelt passed away. His death was a profound shock to the nation and the world. Vice President Harry Truman took over and saw the war to its conclusion. FDR's legacy is immense and complex. He was a leader who brought hope during a time of despair, fundamentally redefined the relationship between the American people and their government, and led the nation to victory in a world war. His New Deal programs created a social safety net that continues to shape American society. But he was also a man of his time, whose decisions, like the Japanese-American internment, left a painful and lasting stain. Studying figures like FDR isn't about simple praise or condemnation. It's about understanding the incredible pressures they faced, the choices they made, and the far-reaching consequences of those actions, both good and bad. His story is a powerful chapter in the ongoing narrative of America. Thanks for watching. If you found this interesting, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most fascinating figures. See you next time.